Hey everyone, welcome to Plants and Politics. So this is some breaking news. House Democrats will officially begin impeachment proceedings on Monday against Donald Trump. To my knowledge, this is the first president to be impeached more than once. He wanted to be remembered in history. He's going to be infamous, all right. The articles of impeachment contain only one charge listed as incitement of insurrection. The document states that Trump, quote, will remain a threat to national security, democracy, and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office, and has acted in a manner grossly incompatible with self-governance and the rule of law. According to Congressman Ted Lieu, who was among the attorneys who wrote co-wrote the impeachment article, there's already 130 co-sponsors. I'm sorry, but Trump must, I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Trump must be removed from office using either the 25th Amendment or impeachment. And I think that for once, enough Republicans might go along with it to actually remove him for various reasons, which I'll explain in a moment. But the number one reason he must be removed is obvious. It was stated in the article of impeachment. He needs to be taken out of a position of power so he can do no more harm. And yes, I know people are going to make the argument that, well, he still has his base and he can still cause violence, incite violence, and cause harm to the nation. Yes, while that may be true, he still can incite violence as a private citizen. He won't have access to the nuclear codes. He also won't be able to erroneously start a war with Iran in an effort to hold on to power. And the military would no longer answer to him, so he wouldn't be able to call for martial law and force them to take over the country, as many of his supporters have been calling for him to do. But the second reason that Trump needs to go is because if he is removed from office, whether it be through the 25th Amendment or through impeachment, he won't be allowed to hold a position of power in government ever again. This obviously is very important as well. I mean, we definitely don't want to go through this again, but we also want to send a message to future Trump-like candidates. We want them to know that their days will be numbered, even if someone like him in the future or one of his offspring, his demonic apples that fell off the tree, even if they get in, we want them to understand it's not going to end well for you. The third and equally essential reason that I see is that he should not be allowed any more time in office in which to pardon anyone who took part in that attempted coup. And that includes himself. Recently it was reported that he's been discussing the idea of a self-pardon. And it's believed that he wouldn't have the constitutional authority to do so, but who's going to stop him? He's gotten away with blowing through every norm, law, rule, anything he's wanted to do over the past 4 years. It's gone without consequence. Why would we or should we believe that this time would be any different? We also need to stop him from pardoning any of these terrorists who broke into the Capitol on Wednesday. Their crimes, as I understand it, because they were committed on federal grounds, they would be prosecuted by a federal court. They would be federal crimes. That means that Trump could issue preemptive pardons for them, even before they're charged. As long as he knows their names, I believe that's all he would need. These people need to pay for what they did. Unless these people could also be charged with state crimes, they'll walk free. There will be no consequences for their actions, just like Trump. And removing him would also prevent him from issuing preemptive pardons for his children and cabinet members. And here's why I say I think Republicans might go along with it. Some have now spoken out and said that Trump should resign or be removed using the 25th Amendment. So, for example, Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger said in a video that he posted online, quote, "What happened yesterday was a wake-up call to many. Sadly, yesterday it became evident that not only has the president abdicated his duty to protect the American people and the people's house, he invoked and inflamed passions that only gave fuel to the insurrection that we saw here. When pressed to move and denounce the violence, he barely did so. It's time to invoke the 25th Amendment and end this nightmare. We will arise from this, but we cannot forget what led us here. The president caused this. The president is unfit, and the president is unwell." Pretty strong statement there. That sounds like a guy who would be willing to vote for impeachment. In addition, Republican Senator Ben Sasse, who's always spoken out about Trump, said in an interview that impeachment is something that he would consider. And New York Times journalist Maggie Haberman reported that she had spoken with a senior aide to a Republican senator, as well as another source, which she didn't really define, but they were quoted as saying, "More Republican senators favor impeachment than people would expect." And even Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski, who voted against the removal of Trump on the last go-round, she spoke on the record today with Anchorage Daily News, and she told them, quote, "I want him to resign. I want him out. He has caused enough damage. He doesn't want to stay there. He only wants to stay there for the title. He only wants to stay there for his ego. He needs to get out. He needs to do the good thing, but I don't think that he's capable of doing the good thing." And Murkowski made clear the fact that she blames Trump for the terroristic attack on Wednesday, saying, quote, "I will attribute it to the president." But, she left something out there. She left out the fact that he only wants to stay there, really. I mean, his true intention, his true reason, and the impetus for Trump wanting to remain in office so desperately that he was willing to go to these lengths and to incite a riot is that he doesn't want to go to prison. And Murkowski, here's the really shocking thing. In that interview, she also kind of inferred or indicated that she might consider leaving the Republican Party. She told the reporter, quote, "If the Republican Party has become nothing more than the party of Trump, I sincerely question whether this is the party for me." But she also didn't sound like she was planning to become a Democrat anytime soon, because she also blamed Trump for John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock winning, and obviously Loeffler and Perdue losing. And she called the Republican losses, quote, "very, very, very unfortunate." So, I mean, this is a perfect example of Republicans talking out of both sides of their mouth. She's saying, and she admits, oh, well, it seems that the Republican Party has become nothing more than the party of Trump, and it may not be for me. But then you wanted Republicans to win, but then you wanted them to hold on to power. Either they're doing the right thing or they're not. And you have two outgoing Republicans, Loeffler and Perdue, who were so completely corrupt. These are the people who literally made stock trades and made money off of this pandemic and the death of people, and invested in companies that sell body bags. That's who she was hoping would win. But she's not the last one. So even former Republican sycophants like Trey Gowdy, he called out Trump's involvement in the violence on Wednesday. Gowdy told a Fox News host, in so many words, and you'll hear, that Trump incited the violence. Take a look at this video.
Do we need to do more to secure the nation's capital? How could this happen?
You know, Sandra, I am not a blame the police first person. I was there for 8 years. There is a tremendous law enforcement presence in D.C., in particular around the Capitol, and certainly with the Capitol Police. I don't know how reasonably foreseeable it should be for cops that tens of thousands of people are going to be told to go fight, that an election was stolen from them, to go fight, to blame Mike Pence, to blame Tommy Cotton and Ken Buck and these other Republicans with 100 conservatives.
Who told them to do that?
Did you hear the speech? Did you listen to the president's speech yesterday?
I did.
Then you tell me, who said that? Who said go fight? Who blamed Mike Pence? Who blamed Republicans? Who said the election was stolen?
Are you suggesting the president wanted them to do this, to scale the walls and to invade the Capitol?
Among my many limitations, Andrew, I can't tell you what was on the president's mind. I can tell you that he said, let's march together to the Capitol.
Here's the thing. Pence is said to have refused to use the 25th Amendment, which means that it can't happen. It has to be Pence plus a certain number of Trump's cabinet that uses the 25th Amendment to remove him. So without Pence's involvement, it can't happen. So with that off the table, and Trump being the obstinate, petulant toddler that he is, he will never resign. So that leaves only impeachment as a method of removal to protect the country. And, you know, Pence was there today, supposedly having a meeting with him. No word yet as to what that's all about. He could be urging Trump to resign to avoid impeachment. But again, Trump is just a stubborn little spoiled brat. And so it's unlikely that he's going to do that. And before we go giving these Republicans too much credit, you know, just remember, just like Lindsey Graham is now speaking out. I mean, he said he's not for impeachment or the 25th Amendment, but he's speaking out about Trump's incitement of violence on Wednesday. Let's just remember, they all went along with these lies. They went along with his cheating, his stealing, everything for the past 4 years. They knew he was a danger at the beginning of this year when they refused to remove him from office. And these are the consequences of their inaction, of their refusal to do the right thing, their refusal to put the country above their greed and their desire, their cravenness for power. They're only now speaking out and considering removing him because, number one, they recognize he's a loser. They bet on a losing horse. He lost the House, he lost the Senate, he lost the presidency for the Republicans in 4 years. They've lost control of everything. Clearly, he's driving the majority of America away from the party. He's turning out more voters than ever to vote against him. And the other reason is, what do they have to lose at this point? They've used him for all he's worth. Trump gave it up too easily. He put out on the first term, so to speak. They've got their judges. They've got their Supreme Court. They got their huge tax breaks for their corporate donors. They've deregulated everything and anything possible to destroy our air and our water and our land. I mean, why buy the cow for the second term or 2024 when you already got the milk? So if Trump had any sense, he would have said, no, I'm not going to do all of this. I'm not going to nominate all of these judges. I'm not going to go along with all of this. Let's save some of it for my second term. But of course, he's not bright, regardless of what people think. Not irregardless, as Josh Hawley says. Regardless, Hawley. Apparently, they didn't teach Josh Hawley the correct word to use at Yale Law School, which just reminds me of Stewie from Family Guy. Irregardless, a whole nother. Anyway, no, but this is serious. Let's be serious now. All right. This is a serious matter. You know I have to make jokes, but if I hear any more, guys, I will let you know. That's where it stands at this hour. Let's pray to God that Republicans don't use the excuse that, oh, well, he's going to be out in 12 or 13 days. And so what's the point? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, yeah, bunch of BS. He needs to go, and these things need to be put in place, as I said, for these 3 reasons. And this is another reason. I believe if he's removed, he will no longer be eligible to receive presidential briefings, because that is a huge, huge security concern. Ex-presidents are allowed to receive security briefings. What will Trump do with that information? You know he's willing to sell it to the highest bidder. You know he would sell out our country in a heartbeat. He already has in many ways. Wednesday was a perfect example. So what information, what intelligence would he be willing to sell to the Russians so they forgive some of his loans, to other people who he owes money to around the world, or to get a new property in their country that he's been wanting? I'll keep you posted. As always, like, share, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and listening. I'll talk with you guys soon. Take care.